name is HistoryWes, and welcome back to the Family Quest server, where I am working on phase 2 of our project. We've got our project board over here. This isn't a project board, it's just a commemoration, I guess. Phase 1, digging out, started 11/30, November 30th. That's phase 1. Phase 2 started 28th of November, almost a month later. Took a month to dig out this space along with this giant hole, much of which has been filled in now. It went all the way to, or it goes all the way to bedrock. Let me stop here and sleep, and I will give you a quick tour of what we've done so far. You can see a lot of the boxes up here are gone. I've used some of the materials. Alright, and we are there's so many things we have to do. For one, fix up this hallway to look nice, this stairway and corridor system. And let me just give you a quick look at what that's going to look like when it's done. I think you might have seen it in the last episode. I'm also going to put some kind of an elevator system in here to go down to specific levels. Yeah, this is what the hallway will look like when we are all done. Kind of an industrial look. So we've got some of the floors done, a few of the walls, and some of the ceiling even. Okay, we have our lowest level, which will be our diamond mines, going off in 4 directions. And we got a lot of materials just digging down this hole. I was amazed at the amount of diamonds down here. So this is probably the most expensively decorated mining hub in history. But I do like the effect. I had completely forgotten that I was going to put a row of coral in here, and so I harvested coral in a coral reef, and I've never used it yet. Still got it though, so I might use it. Okay, so the next several levels will be for future expansion. I wrote version 1.22 expansion area. I don't know that I'll save them that long, but you know, it depends on what I need that space for. So that one, and this is the second level, and third level. So we have 4 levels of future expansion. Then above those, we have our mining level at the iron level. So you can see the diamonds have been replaced by iron ore, which is good because I ran out of diamond ore. And by doing this, I almost ran out of lapis ore. Found a lot of lapis too, but anyway, we will mine off in these 4 directions in strip mines, or excuse me, in branch mines. This big hole that I'm standing in was originally a strip mine. People who, when you're digging hallways through the rock, that's branch mining. And anyone who calls it a strip mine has never been to some place where there was a strip mine, and you should definitely visit one, because they are horrible places, scars on the earth where people have, well, scarred the earth. Okay, so above our iron mine, we have our storage system. This is the lowest level of the storage system, and we have 2 rows of organization with 2 chests for each item. And so we have 80 items here and 80 here, for a total of 320 items in this room. And as I say, I've got plenty of work to do in these access hallways. And above that, we have these levels, which are for large bulk items. There will be 6 chests for each item, which means there's only 160 different items in this room. Yeah, you can see how much ore is just around at this level. We've got some dripstone blocks here too, one harvest. This is the second level of that large storage area. And this will be the third and final level of that storage area. So we will have, that will be room for exactly 800 different items, which is more than Minecraft has. I believe at the moment there are 633 sortable items. Sortable meaning that they can fit in some kind of a stack. So I also died once flying with rockets and trying to land down in this pit back when it was much deeper. All right. I had to go get another box of granite. I've been using polished granite and polished diorite for the stone that the redstone sits upon. Okay, so I'm going to do a little work on this, and as I'm doing it, I'm going to tell you the next part of our story, the Destroyer returns. And I hope you enjoy it. And here we go.
The Destroyer Returns, Part 3, Brig. Wrath was shaken awake by Burl. He looked up into the big man's face, mostly covered in shadow. It looked like it was still dark outside. "Get up, we're going fishing." Wrath slipped on his boots and jacket and met Burl outside, where another man and an older boy waited as well. "This is Cor," said Burl. "He's the best fisherman in these parts. This here's his boy, Dane." Cor was a thin, sallow-looking fellow with thinning brown hair and a face full of lines. Dane was a strapping boy of some 16 summers with red hair and a few red chin hairs. Each of them carried 3 homemade fishing rods. Dane carried a wooden bucket full of additional gear. Cor had a fancy wooden tackle box kept closed by a hook and eye made of copper. "Come on," said Cor. "Gotta get there before they stop biting." They walked east out of town to a small stream that Wrath and Misty Brook had visited the day before. They followed it down about 3 miles, where, swollen from a few tiny rivulets, it widened into almost 20 feet across, but was no more than a foot deep. "There's a trick to it," said Cor, shoving a fishing rod into Wrath's hands. "I made these lures. They float on the water and look like bugs. If you're lucky, the fish are hungry and go for 'em. Flick 'em around every so often." He demonstrated by casting his string out, a little bit of fluff along with a hook on the end. He let it float downstream a dozen feet before pulling it out and casting it in once more. This time a fish mistook the lure for an insect and struck. Cor pulled out a speckled trout about 13 inches long. "Spread out," he said, which they did. After about 2 hours they started back for the village, having pulled in between them 14 fish. Wrath was responsible for only one of them, though it was the largest. Cor and Dane split away at the edge of the town, leaving Wrath and Burl to head to the home of the latter. Marigold was waiting for them with a pan already sizzling over an open fire. She cleaned and filleted the fish, coating them with batter of ground corn and crushed pecans, and then fried them to a golden brown. They were eaten with slices of now several-day-old bread toasted over flames. "It's a day of rest," said Burl. "At sunset we meet at the tavern." Wrath nodded and left to find Misty Brook. She wasn't in her house, but after wandering around for almost an hour, he spotted her on a hillside 100 yards away. "There you are," she said. "Sit down next to me." He did as directed. "Do you want to know a secret?" she asked. "I'll be happy to know anything, since I know so little," he replied. She let loose a peal of musical laughter. "All right, look over there." She pointed to a house just beyond the tavern. It seemed a very ordinary sort of place, with a sagging roof and a door that didn't quite close. "Watch, it won't be long." After 8 or 9 minutes, they observed Burl exiting the door of the home. He stopped, stretched, and adjusted his clothes before walking off toward some trees. "That's Roll's house," she said. "Burl visits Roll's wife whenever he's not there. Sometimes he is there and has to leave." Rath's mind flashed to Dane's large body and red hair. "You understand," said Misty Brook. "Most of the children in the village have red hair." "That's not right." "It's just the way it is. He visits all the women." Rath looked at her. "Not me, though," she said. She kissed him on the cheek before getting up and skipping down the hill. Rath remained there for a little while, watching the children, mostly red-haired, play. Then he got up and marched down the hill. He suddenly turned left, as if pulled by a magnet, to a little church. Brig was by the door, cleaning a dirty window with a filthy rag. "I've been expecting you," he said. "Really? Why?" "You want to know about the destroyer, don't you?" "Yeah." Brig opened the door and motioned Rath in, and then followed, closing the door behind him. The building was small, the size of Misty Brook's little house. There were 4 rough-hewn wooden pews, not enough seating for the whole village, barely enough room for them to stand. Brig pointed to a small picture hanging on the far wall. Rath walked over to it and looked. It was a shadowy figure, a drawing, holding 2 swords, one in each hand. It was almost impossible to make out any features. "This could be anybody," said Rath. "Yes," agreed Brig. "Let me show you some more." He led Rath back out of the church and around the building. There was a narrow path that led away from the village. Brig walked down it, turning every few yards to make sure that he was being followed. The path ended in a large pit in the ground. A slope of small rocks led from the edge down to the bottom. They half walked, half slid their way down into what was essentially a big basin, some 40 feet across and about 10 feet deep. The stone floor scattered with more gravel. On the right there was an overhang, and beneath it was an ancient stone wall. Right in the middle of that wall was an open doorway, an iron door resting on its hinges. The sun, low in the west, shone directly into the portal. "Everything we need to know about the destroyer is in here," said Brig. "Take a look." Rath stepped in the doorway. On the opposite wall was a large stone. Upon the stone was an open book. He moved closer. Suddenly the room went dark as the metal door was slammed shut. "Hey!" "You said it yourself," Brig called through the crack between the door's edge and the stone wall. "It could be anybody." "Let me out, damn you!" Then he could hear Brig walking away, his footsteps sliding on the gravel. It was replaced almost immediately with another sound, coming from behind Rath and to his right. It was a deep groan, followed by more shifting gravel, like the sounds of someone standing up. In the dim illumination provided by the slices of light passing through the cracks in the door, Rath could make out a figure moving toward him. But only when it passed through one of those light streams could he make out any details. It almost looked like a person, but its proportions were all wrong. Its arms were too long. It was hunched over, emaciated with gray, sagging skin. Rath was suddenly gagging, as the smell of rot and putrid decay filled the air between them. The creature reached out a long, bony hand, tipped not with fingernails but with claws. Rath threw himself at the door, but it didn't budge. "Let me out!" he shouted, as he felt the monster's hand on his shoulder.
Well, that looks like our time for today. Thanks for being here and stopping by and see our work under construction and listen to our story. We will continue next time with part 4. And as always, if you like what you saw, please press that like button. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm still looking for suggestions for names of our castle we're going to build up top. In the meantime, keep on Minecrafting.